Hi, and welcome back to Early Years Explorers. If you're a parent who wants your child to grow up kind, resilient, and emotionally aware, but also wants discipline that actually works, this episode is definitely for you. I'm going to dive into positive discipline, what it really means, why being firm doesn't make you a bad parent, and how to set boundaries in a way that actually sticks without losing your mind or your voice. And if you've ever thought, I swore I'd never be like my mother, but maybe she was right, then you're in excellent company. Let's dive in. Hi, and thanks for joining me. So, what is positive discipline? What is it really? Well, let's start at the beginning because there's a lot of confusion. Positive discipline is often misunderstood as soft or permissive parenting. That certainly is not what it is. Positive discipline is about teaching skills, setting limits, and holding children accountable with empathy, clarity, and consistency. If you're listening to this and thinking, so does that mean I can't be gentle? No, not at all. You can be gentle and firm at the same time. Research from the American Psychological Association and UNICEF Early Childhood Report in 2022 shows that children thrive under authoritative parenting, which is warmth plus consistent boundaries. That combination helps children regulate emotions, understand limits, and build self-confidence. And here's the kicker. I swore I'd never be like my mother, but turns out she was right. Setting limits works. Children actually like knowing where their lines are. And if validating feelings alone worked, none of us would ever raise our voices and bedtime wouldn't feel like a hostage negotiation. Now, here's the truth about soft parenting. At the moment, there's a lot of buzz right now about what soft parenting is or gentle parenting. We hear that a lot. And listen, most of it comes from a really good place. We want to raise emotionally aware children. We want to break cycles and we want to do better than what we'd experienced growing up. But somewhere along the way, gentle started getting confusing with no boundaries at all. Children need boundaries. Research backs this up. Now, the Harvard University Center on Developing Child and the London School of Economics shows that when rules are consistent or unclear, children are actually more likely to test limits. They feel anxious and struggle with self-regulations. In other words, when the lines keep moving, children don't feel calm. They feel unsettled. Now, some of you might think, but isn't the whole point of being emotionally aware and validating feelings? Yes, absolutely. That part is important. Validating feelings is wonderful. Children deserve to have their emotions acknowledged. But gentle parenting without structure is confusing. It's like telling children, I love you so much, but I'm not sure what the rules are today. And children pick up on that instantly. They'll think, yesterday this was okay. Today it's not. Let me test this theory just one more time. And suddenly, you're on round 12 of the same boundary. You can be emotionally attuned and firm. Those two things are not opposites. You can say, I see you're upset, and still say, the answer is no. Think of it this way. Structure is love, not control. Clear boundaries tell children, I've got you. You're safer here. You don't have to figure everything out on your own. And honestly, that's what children are really asking for. They don't want total freedom. They need calm, confident leadership from the adults who care about them the most. And this is exactly where people get confused, because warmth and structure can absolutely live in the same space. I see it every single day in my classroom. Now, in class, I like to be playful. I sing instructions, I use funny voices, and sometimes turn cleanup time into a full-on dance-off. If there's a chance to make learning fun, I'll take it. But children will always test your limits. Give them an inch, and they'll absolutely ask for a mile, and then a second mile just to be sure. So one day during one of these silly moments, a very serious 4-year-old stopped, looked up at me and asked, "Why are you being silly, Miss Afaf?" And honestly, I just laughed. Because there I was, this grown adult, acting like a 4-year-old, right alongside them. I smiled and said, "Because sometimes being silly helps us learn." That was it. No long explanation, no negotiation. The children laughed, they refocused, and sat down on the carpet without a fuss. That's the balance. Playful? Yes. Warm? Absolutely. But still firmly in charge. Now, if you ask my colleagues or any of the parents whose children I've taught, they will often say the same thing. The children know Miss Afaf will make them laugh, but they also know she means what she says. That's the balance. It keeps the room calm, respectful, and joyful. And this applies just as much at home. You can sing the cleanup song, make a silly voice, even turn bedtime into a game. But when it's time to stop, it's time to stop. Children don't lose respect when they're playful. They lose clarity when we're inconsistent. So no, being silly doesn't make you a soft parent or a teacher. It makes you human. The magic is pairing the silliness with clear, steady boundaries. Here's something that often surprises adults. Children actually prefer firm adults, not scary ones, not shouting ones, but calm, confident adults who mean what they say. Research from the Center of Developing Brain at the University of California, along with guidance from the World Health Organization's parenting framework, shows that children feel safer when boundaries are predictable and consistently reinforced. Now, when the adults are clear, children don't have to guess. And when children don't have to guess, then they can relax. Basically, what this means is children don't actually want to be in charge. They just want to double check that you are. Here's another example from my classroom of how silliness and firmness can actually work beautifully together. During a painting activity, a few children started throwing paintbrushes. Now, I could have raised my voice and I could have stopped the whole activity, but instead I paused. I took a deep breath because God knows I needed it. And I said, in a very dramatic, exaggerated voice, "Oh, I didn't know that the paintbrushes had wings because now they're flying." We all laughed. But the rule was crystal clear. There was no shame, no lecture. The children picked up the paintbrushes and returned to painting without any arguing. That's the moment. The boundary didn't change. Only the delivery did. Now, according to child development research from the University of Toronto's Ontario Institute of Studies in Education, children are far more receptive to guidance when correction happens in a calm, connected way. Humour lowers stress, but consistency keeps the boundary intact. And yes, sometimes my inner mother voice comes out and I realise, yep, my mother was definitely right all along. Children need limits. They might push back, but deep down, limits make them feel safe. You have to read the room. You see, sometimes you reinforce a rule with humour because that moment, the children respond far better than they would at a strict scolding. And this is important. This doesn't mean putting on a clown outfit and being silly all the time. If you're constantly joking, children won't take you seriously. Being playful doesn't mean losing control. Firm boundaries delivered with warmth and just the right amount of humour are incredibly effective. This also applies at home. Children don't feel secure when rules change based on how tired we are. They feel secure when they know what to expect, even if they protest loudly in the moment. And yes, they may call you unfair. In fact, they will. And they may dramatically sigh. And years later, they'll laugh about it. So if you've ever worried that being firm makes you the bad guy, let me reassure you. Firm, calm adults are the ones children love and trust the most. So why is it that children listen at school and not at home? I often hear they're angels at school, but at home, it's a different story. If you've ever said that, please know you're not alone. This is one of the most common things parents say to teachers, and it comes up all the time. Here's why this happens. You see, at school, expectations are clear, consistent, and predictable. Children know the routine. They know the rules, and those rules are enforced by more than one person, calmly, consistently, and the same way every day. At home, though, if we're being real, life is real. We're tired. We're juggling work, dinner, homework, siblings, and about 100 other things all at the same time. Sometimes we say no. Sometimes we say yes just to get through the evening. And that's human. But if we really look at this, children need consistent routines, not just at school. They need it at home as well, because that's where it starts. When routines and expectations are predictable, children feel safer and behave more cooperatively. Now, this is also supported by research from the Global Early Childhood Research Network, which shows that predictability reduces anxiety and increases cooperation. When children know what's coming next, they're less likely to resist or melt down. I remember there were some nights when my children were young and I genuinely thought, maybe we should just eat cereal for dinner and call it a win. And honestly, sometimes that is the win. Even on those nights, children still need limits though, because limits make them feel secure, even when it's inconvenient for us. So if your child saves their biggest emotions for home, it's not because there's something wrong. It's because home is where they feel the safest. The goal isn't perfection. It's consistency over time. And remember, children don't need us to be perfect parents. They need us to be calm, predictable ones, most of the time. All right, let's get practical here and talk about positive discipline tools that actually work. Because theory is great, right? But at 7:30 p.m., when everyone is tired, hungry, you don't need theory. You need tools. And these are strategies that work both at school and at home. Tool number 1, say less, mean more. This one is big. Children tune out long explanations. The more we talk, the more room there is for negotiation. Fewer words equals a clearer message. In the classroom, I don't give a 5-minute speech about why running indoors is unsafe. I simply say, walking please. And because it's consistent, the children know exactly what that means. Studies from Harvard's Graduate School of Education show that concise, clear instructions improve cooperation in young children. They process short messages much better than emotional monologues. If you find yourself explaining the same boundary 3 times, you're probably negotiating. And children are excellent negotiators. Tool number 2, follow through consistently. If you say it, do it. This is where discipline either works or completely falls apart. Empty threats don't teach children limits. They teach children to wait out and wait you out. At school, if I say, if the paintbrushes are thrown, the activity stops, and then I don't follow through, I've lost credibility. The same thing happens at home. The American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizes that consistent follow-through is essential for effective discipline. Children learn boundaries when adults are predictable, not when rules changed based on the mood. And yes, following through is inconvenient. Sometimes it would be much easier to just let it slide. But consistency today saves you 10 arguments tomorrow. Tool number 3, validate feelings, not behavior. This is where positive discipline really shines. You can acknowledge how a child feels without approving what they did. For example, you're upset, and that's okay. Hitting is not okay. This teaches children 2 things at once. My feelings are accepted. There are still limits on my behavior. Validation doesn't mean agreement. It means understanding. Because regulation reduces repeated challenging behavior over time. Tool number 4, the repair after conflict. This one is powerful and often overlooked. What happens after discipline matters just as much as the discipline itself. After a tough moment in the classroom, I always reconnect. A quiet chat, a reassuring smile, sometimes just sitting beside a child and saying, that was hard, but we're okay. Studies show that repairing after conflict strengthens secure attachment and trust. You see, children need to know that limits don't mean rejection. And yes, it includes apologizing when you've lost it a little, because we're human too. Repair teaches children accountability better than perfection ever could. So in this final part, and as we wrap this up, I want to say parenting today comes with more pressure than ever. Everyone has an opinion. Social media, parenting books, podcasts, relatives, and even strangers in the supermarket. And sometimes this makes it feel so hard because we're expected to stay calm, consistent, emotionally intelligent, and enlightened 24/7. Meanwhile, real life is happening around us. There's work deadlines, sleepless nights, sibling arguments, and someone always needs a snack. So if you're thinking, if I mess up, does that mean I'm failing? Absolutely not. Awareness matters far more than perfection. You are learning alongside your child, and that's exactly what healthy parenting looks like. Research says children whose parents model reflection, flexibility, and learning develop stronger problem-solving skills and greater emotional resilience. In other words, children don't need perfect parents. They need parents who are willing to grow with them. When children see us pause, reflect, and even say, I didn't handle that well at all, let's try again, they learn how to do the same. That's a powerful life skill. So if today felt hard, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing something that matters. Progress, not perfection. That's the goal. Positive discipline isn't about perfection. It's about presence. You can be playful, you can be gentle, and you can absolutely be firm. You can validate feelings and set clear limits. If this episode made you laugh, feel reassured, or reminded you that it's okay to be human, share it with another parent who might need that reminder. Thank you so much for joining me on Early Years Explorers. Until next time, keep your boundaries clear, your humor intact, and remember, you're doing better than you think.